Hey everybody, just giving it a few minutes for people to come in the room. I think I want to dim my light just a little. Yeah, that's better. How's everybody doing? Um, Hi Brian, hope you're doing well. It's the only first and only stream for the day. It's been a long day. Late night last night. We got cut off. It was internet issues, so I went and bought. So we didn't have to worry about Wi-Fi. Kind of overestimated how much Cat 5 cable I needed to get from my room to here. I think I overestimated by 100 feet. I don't like the sound of that. I feel like I lost signal. Am I still here? Hey to everybody. Twitch is in the house. I see Twitch. I see Facebook is here. YouTube is on deck. I think Lori is laughing at how many feet of feet of Cat 5 I got. So far, we have 527 people in the room. Go ahead and click the share, the like button. Share, and when we get to 600, we'll get started. Yeah, listen. I'm good at a lot of stuff. Here, let me put this on the screen. There it is. I'm good at a lot of stuff. Estimating distances is not one. Yeah, so I was like, I had an option between a 100-foot cable and a 150-foot cable. I said I probably need a 100-foot cable, 150-foot. So that didn't go well. Welcome, Mary Valesco. Watched last night for the first time. These streams are new. I normally do a podcast, and I guess I should have put that in the description. The podcast I do, you can go to Benjamin Dixon Show. You can go to iTunes, basically anywhere. You can get the podcast. That's what I do every day. I get it out sometime around noon, and we cover the news and the politics. But I'm doing this because we really need something. I don't know about you, but I need something where I'm not expressing the anger that is rightfully needed in this moment. But I just can't be angry all the time. Because if I am, I'm a snap on these fools, to be quite honest with you, right? If I'm angry all the time, I'm going to end up in jail. Because we have a system that is so broken, and we have people who are being so ridiculous, and we have a political system that is just ignoring so many important issues that it becomes infuriating, and it makes you just it just brings out the worst in me. And so what I'm finding is these conversations with you are really cathartic, and they remind me of what we're fighting for, right? We're fighting because there are a lot of good people in the world. There are a lot of people who don't put greed above humanity in the world. And the more and more I get a chance to interact with you all on a personal level like this is it's healing. Yeah, it's like it's a healing factor, and it allows me to focus on not focus on, but rather focus my anger into the places that it needs to be focused. But remember that the reason I'm angry is because we're trying to do good, right? It's easy to be angry right now just to be angry at the ridiculousness of Donald Trump, angry at the number of people who have died from COVID-19, angry at how poverty is just ignored by our political leaders, angry because they only gave Americans $1,200 7 months ago and said, go, fend for yourself. Angry because there are bread lines that are the like 10 miles long, and that's become the norm. So it's easy to be angry because there's a lot to be angry about. But doing the work that I do, I end up ready to do stuff that would get me in jail, get me put in jail. So anyway, I digress. Let's get your comments in here, and then a couple things I want to share with you, and we can go from there. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, cross pollinate. If you're on Facebook, go to Twitch. If you're on Twitch, go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go to Twitter. If you're on Twitter, go to Facebook. Because I'm sure one of these platforms is going to shut me down eventually. It's inevitable. Lorenz gave a super chat. Appreciate that. Pair character bowing down, saying thank you. Denise says that it's therapy, venting that redirects the feelings. Absolutely. I want to put. Let me show you what I'm feeling tonight. Like I really do have like a couple things that are on my mind. I'm going to pull up a tweet from NBC News 10 Philadelphia. "89-year-old pizza delivery man gets a surprise $12,000 tip." And they share this as though it is a. They share it as though it is a happy story. Now I'm sure the man is very happy that he got a $12,000 tip. But why the hell is an 89-year-old in this country having to deliver pizza during a goddamn pandemic? He works 30 hours a week to make some extra money because his monthly bills cost more than his Social Security covers. See, I'm trying not to get angry. This is not a happy ending story. This is not a victory. This is not something to celebrate. 89-year-old, 90-year-old man. Do you know how lucky any of us would be to make it to 89 years old? Now think about making it to 89 years old and you got to deliver some little stanky ass pizzas in a pandemic just for you to survive. You understand? You see what I'm saying? Like our system is so twisted and such a dystopia. I oftentimes try to. I haven't had a chance to do the kind of writing that I want to do. If I ever get a chance to break away from all the madness that's happening, I want to write. And the problem that I'm having right now is that it's kind of hard to write a fiction novel about a dystopia that's actually worse than what we have right now. Because it's not just so terrible that it is terrible, but the insult to injury on top of the fact that this man is 89 years old having to deliver pizza is the fact that our media thinks that that's a happy story because he got a $12,000 tip. So our media is like a part of this delusion that tells these survival stories. I think the name of it is like survival porn or poverty porn. Like they like to look and stare at all of these old people who walk 12 miles to work every morning because they have to work because they're Social Security. Like our media celebrates that. And I'm sitting back and I'm trying to be creative. Like, how can I describe a dystopia? How can I, tell this story that I have in my head? And it involves a really dystopic kind of environment or dystopic kind of environment. And I'm like, I can't really create something much worse than what we got right now. 200,000 people dead. So that's a problem. The problem is that we live in such an absurd society. The opening line to my book, feel free to steal it, because if you can write it, then it needs to be written. Here's the open line. The absurdity of it all. Could we not see ourselves? That's it. That's all I've got. I got pages and pages and pages of the universe. I got like volumes of stuff that I've written about this universe, right? But, it's really the absurdity of America. It's like we can't even see how ridiculous we've become, how utterly stupid and ridiculous all of this is. Everything that we've got going on in this country right now is the height of absurdity. But it's like hearing your voice on a tape recorder for the first time. It's like, I had no idea I sounded like that. Is anybody familiar with that phenomenon? Like you did a podcast or you recorded a voice memo and you hear your voice and you're like, I don't sound like that. Or better yet, when I was 70 pounds heavier, I didn't realize I had gotten so ridiculously big. I couldn't see it. And the crazy thing was like you can't see yourself. And this is, obviously I'm dealing with like America's absurdity. We can't see ourselves, like how ridiculous we are. But what's funny is like I passed up pictures from when me and my wife got married, And we were on our honeymoon, and I saw a picture when I was much slimmer, and I looked at it and like, man, I couldn't look in the mirror and see how big I had gotten, but I could look at a picture and see how small I used to be. But even still, when I passed up the mirror, I could not see how big I had gotten. And it's like, can America, out of all of the media that we have, all of the information that we have at our disposal, all the different ways that we can look into the mirror of America, like we could look at Canada and see that Canada's doing better by their citizens. That we could look across and look at Germany doing better by their citizens. Hell, Cuba is doing better by their citizens when it comes to COVID-19. They most certainly are. And we look at America and we can't see the absurdity of this moment, the stupidity of our politics, the ridiculousness of our leaders across the board. Right? And so I'm looking at the picture from my honeymoon. I'm like, wow, I used to be a lot slimmer. Like, I want to get back to that size. But when I look into the mirror, I couldn't see myself. So it's like the absurdity of America. Can we not see ourselves? Can we not hear our voices? No, we can't. And the reason we can't is because we're so caught up in the immediacy of the moment of where we're living right now. The funny thing about it, if I was to finish that part of the story and then we'll move to another topic, is that I started working out, started losing a little bit of weight, and I went past that same picture from my honeymoon. I lost 70 pounds, went past that same picture of my honeymoon. And the same picture that I looked at where I was like, man, I wish I could get that slim. It was almost like something out of a Black Mirror or Alfred Hitchcock or The Twilight Zone, because the picture looked like the picture changed. Like I looked at the picture and the picture was totally different. Like I looked bigger. I'm like, holy shit, I wasn't skinny. I was so much bigger because it's all perspective. It's a matter of perspective. And when your perspective is skewed, you cannot see the reality that's going on around you. And in America, our perspective is so skewed. We don't see how utterly ridiculous this entire thing is. It is out of control. It is madness. It is madness for this to be celebrated. Well, good thing nothing crazy was on my home screen. Hang on. You can see I'm focused on the news all the time. There's no, jump offs or nothing crazy like that. We look at this and we celebrate this. An 89-year-old man. I never will forget Thanksgiving about 3 years ago. I was in Alabama celebrating Thanksgiving with my family. And they needed something picked up from the store. And the stores are open on Thanksgiving. And I went into Walmart to pick up something. And at the door was an elderly lady. And I just started talking to her. And this was obviously before COVID. Because right now, even as I talk about it, I'm like, I can't imagine stopping to talk to somebody just face to face. But I stopped and I talked to her. And she was saying that she had to work, not just because she needed the money, but because if she didn't work, Walmart was going to fire her. And she said that they had to celebrate Thanksgiving the night before. That's America, right? Where elderly people are left to struggle and survive. And we think because we give them Social Security that we're doing them a favor. There was one politician that I covered last week, and I can't remember if it was Rand Paul from Kentucky or Ted Cruz from Texas. It's one of those sociopaths who said that and I could still be wrong. It might be a third sociopath that I can't think of their name. But they said that our system, our Social Security system, is too generous. They said that our Social Security system is too generous. 89-year-old man having to deliver pizza. Why? Click on the link. Because his monthly bills cost more than Social Security. Is this a video? No, I'm not going to play the video because NBC will cut us off. NBC is crazy on their copyright infringement. That's the ridiculousness that we live in, folks. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Was it Marco Rubio who said that? I know it was some sociopath. I don't know exactly which one. I covered it last week, but there's so many stories I cover every single week that it's is W George W? Is that what you're talking about here, Andrea? Um, that's what we celebrate in this country. And it's just so backwards. It's back. Here's what we could have. This is what I titled the show. Let's talk about this. We're almost at 600 people live across all platforms. So click the share button, click the subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Click the like button. Let's go ahead and cross over 600. And hell, I haven't even shared my own stuff. Hang on a second. Let me go to my page and share my own stuff. How about that? I'm telling y'all to share, and I ain't even shared yet. Somebody asked me what music am I listening to these days. I listen to the same thing over and over again. My wife hates it. If I'm not listening to PJ Morton with Yeba, How Deep Is Your Love, I keep that on repeat. I can listen to that to a thousand times in a row. If I'm not listening to that, I'm listening to old Andre Crouch, Through It All. It's an old song, but it's like a magical song. If you listen to the orchestration at the beginning and the musical arrangement, the Fender Rhodes melody that gets so abstract at the beginning, it is one of the greatest arrangements of music, period. And it's a really good song to, I think my mother is watching, so to stargaze. It's a really good song that you could stargaze and just think about the universe. Let me share my own stuff. I'm gonna answer a couple other questions. Funny, I'm gonna put Andrea back on the screen. I actually listen to Drew Hill, that album, How Deep Is Your Love. I listen to that every other day too, so that's heavy on my rotation. Y'all just give me a couple seconds. Don't stop following the stream now. I'll get back into the groove in a second, but I'm asking everybody to share, so I need to share myself, right? So anyway, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, oh cool, we got 224 people on Facebook alone. Very nice. Thank you all for hanging out with me. The kind of world we could have, and listen. Here's the thing. Let's establish a baseline here. Let's agree on a baseline. What I'm fighting for is fundamentally different than what conservatives fight for. The reason that's necessary to say is because so many times we like to draw an equivalence and say, oh, they're just the opposite sides of the same coin. No, the hell we're not. We're absolutely the hell not. Because I'm fighting for something totally different than probably most people, but certainly different than Republicans. So if somebody say, oh, he's just the black Ben Shapiro. No, I think my voice is a lot sexier than his, but also I'm fighting to help people. He's fighting to preserve a system that oppresses people. And when I say I'm fighting to help people, let's be sure about something. It's not a utopia. What we're fighting for is not some pie in the sky, fanciful, like flight of fantasy that won't ever come in the future. That's what they want you to think, that everything that we're fighting for is so unrealistic. They got you thinking. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to start the show now. They got you thinking that something as simple as Medicare for all is so fictitious and so unbelievable, when the reality of it is that the United Kingdom, our friends across the pond, have had a single payer system for 71 years, since 1949, the same year Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was topping the charts as the #1 pop hit. Okay? They have had a single-payer healthcare system in the UK as long as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer has been in existence. And most of us think that song has been around since Jesus Christ, right? No, it's only been around as long as the people in London and the entirety of the UK have had a single payer. In other words, they can go to the hospital and not go bankrupt. They have us thinking these things are impossible when all across the world, people are already doing it. And the only morons who don't have it in a rich nation is America. That's because other nations have said, no, healthcare companies, you can't exploit our people. America said, come here and exploit our sick and our dying. Make a profit off of people who are dying of cancer. Make a profit off of children who are fighting leukemia. Make a profit off of a person who is trying to survive HIV. Make a profit off of people going through the worst conditions in their life. We are so sociopathic in this country that there's an entire industry of profit margins that is established around sick and dying people. And that's celebrated in this country. That's protected in this country. And people look at me and say, oh, you're a socialist or you're a communist, whatever they want to label me that day, and say, oh, it's unrealistic. It was really realistic in 1949 when they were singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for the first time. And the United Kingdom said, you know what? Let's take the profit motive out of healthcare. I still haven't shared it on Facebook. I'm already talking. So their goal is they being the ruling elite, the richest, the powerful, the oligarchs, the people who run this country. Their number one job is to make you believe that we can't do anything better. When the reality is like, it's really America that is absurd. Everybody else is looking like everybody else could see how big I had gotten. Not my wife, because I guess she just kind of, she liked me at whatever size. So I married the right woman, obviously. But everybody else on the outside could look at me and be like, oh, yeah, Ben, you getting it. But I couldn't see it. Everybody outside of this country can see how utterly stupid, ridiculous, moronic, imbecilic, and downright fatuous America is. But we can't see it. That's because millions, strike that. Billions. No, billions every year. So if I do it properly, if we talk about the entirety of this time, there have been trillions of dollars poured into making you think that we can't do anything better. Let me share this thing here so I can focus. That's the absurdity of it all. And to answer my own question, like the absurdity of all, could we not see ourselves? No, we can't see ourselves. We can't see how ridiculous this is. The reason we can't see how ridiculous this is because there are powerful people with billions of dollars to spend every single year, ensuring that you never believe that we can have something better than we currently have. And yes, my friends, it is actually existing in both parties. This is a consensus that transcends parties. We absolutely have to get rid of Donald Trump because he's an existential threat to everything that we believe in, everything that we hope for, everything we fight for. Get that monster out of office. But the deeper problems that rest underneath the surface transcend both parties. And we got to keep that in mind. We got to get rid of Donald Trump November 3rd. Don't let anybody say anything different. I don't think we survive a second term of Donald Trump. I'm confident we don't survive a second term of Donald Trump. But the deeply rooted problems in this country that are still existing, they transcend both parties. Both parties. Neither party wants to give us Medicare for all when it's something that has been in existence across the globe. And it's really just us. Oh, check it out. We are at 633. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat room. Let's see. It would be easy to fund the social programs and infrastructure we want if we didn't invest heavily in our military. This is the truth. So anyway, the name of the episode tonight is like the world. What is it? What did I name this thing? Something about the world we could have. I say this all the time, and I don't think that there's a need, to be honest with you. I don't feel like I need to come up with new stuff to say every single episode, every single time we stream. What I'm finding is that there's some core messages, there's fundamental messages that I say on a regular basis that just need to be repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated until everybody gets it, and then they spread it. So I'm going to repeat something over and over again in this time that we share together. Together, you, me, that 89-year-old man who's delivering pizzas when he should be at home, the homeless person that you passed up today, every single one of us, no matter how much we have, no matter how much we own, we all together create every bit of wealth that exists and that is created in this country. If our economy is $12 trillion every year, every single one of you helped create that. It's not distributed that way. But Jeff Bezos is not a billionaire without every package that you order. The Walton family, they are not billionaires 12 times over each or 24 times over each without every time you go to Walmart, right? Mark Zuckerberg is not a billionaire without every single one of us giving him our data so that he can pimp our data. There is no wealth in this world that is created without all of us. Through your labor, either you directly work and help create it. Through your consumption, you're stopping and go to eat. You're buying some takeout. You are ordering that device. You're purchasing the new PlayStation. You're going to a concert, or you're just paying your bills. Damn it, paying your bills. So through your labor, through your consumption, through your participation, just the sheer fact that you're out there participating is it in and of itself creating wealth. Through your taxes, I don't care if you get a refund at the end of every year. Don't let these people fool you. You got state, local taxes, you got fees, you got all these dollars that they extract from you every single day. And they are so effective at extracting wealth from us that we have nothing left at the end of each year, at the end of each month. And that has generated an enormous amount of wealth. So let me just say it again. There is no wealth that is created, that exists, that is not generated by every single one of us. Let me make it very, very, very applicable or relevant to today. They freaked the hell out when we talked about shutting down the economy so that we can stop the spread of COVID-19. I think we saw a 30% drop in GDP. Don't hold me to it, but we did see a significant drop in GDP just because we saw a consumption decrease of about 7%. This economy is 75% consumer driven. So yeah, it makes sense that if we see just like a 7% drop in consumption, meaning your purchases, you going out, consuming, eating, entertaining, watching movies, if we see a significant drop, that's going to hit the economy. And so your consumption and your labor, the money that you spend is so important to their bottom lines that they would rather see you go out into a pandemic and potentially catch COVID-19 and potentially die. But so long as you went out and consumed, well, they could still hit their quarterly profit margins. That's how important your consumption is. That's how important your consumption is. Now, that's the foundation. Actually, I could just take these out completely. That's the foundation. Here's the next logical step in the argument. If we together create this obscene amount of wealth, everyone, even the homeless person on the street, contributes to this wealth. And we have created enough wealth to ensure that every single person in this country has a baseline of survival taken care of. Then when I say that there should not be a person in this country who is homeless, there should not be a person in this country who is hungry, there should not be a person in this country who does not have education paid for, all the way through college. There should be nobody going bankrupt because they are inundated with student loans. When I say that there should not be a person in this country who doesn't have a baseline of income, like a universal basic income, when I say there should not be a person in this country who does not have not access, but actually have a doctor, that's not socialism. Even if it is, it's the right thing to do because you created all this damn wealth that we have around us. But they have you thinking that asking for something, strike that, let me start again. They have you thinking that demanding what is rightfully ours is begging from the government for the government to take care of us. Meanwhile, while they have us thinking that the right order in this universe, in this country, is that we get nothing from the government, but they get every damn thing from the government. Everything. Trillions in bailouts. They're already millionaires, billionaires, but they get trillions in bailouts. And they've got us, they have successfully indoctrinated us into thinking that we have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Dr. King said it's rugged individualism for the poor and socialism for the rich. And so we have an economy where all of us together have generated enough wealth where every one of us can have enough. But instead, we've created an economy where only a handful have everything. So the kind of society that we could have and that we should have by right, because we work and generate it, because our labor generates it, every purchase, this mug that I'm going to show all the time because I love it. It was my wife's, but I took it from her, and now it's mine. You guys excuse my knuckles. I've been boxing a whole lot. Purchasing this mug generated some revenue. The coffee, the pumpkin spice latte, my Karen coffee, buying that generated some. Me streaming right now is generating revenue for all of the different platforms that I'm streaming on. Most of them won't pay me for it. So go to patreon.com/the BPD show or go to the benjamindixonshow.com because I don't get paid for the streams. Not even on Twitch yet. I don't even get paid on Twitch yet. But it's still generating revenue for all of those. Everything that we do, my people, I want you to hear me. Everything that you do generates wealth in this system. And our government has designed it so all of that wealth, and all of us are comfortable with the fact that all of that wealth is generated and maintained and distributed to the top. And what do we have down here at the bottom? I'm going to pull this up again. 89-year-old pizza delivery man. Forget it. I don't care what comes. He got a $12,000 tip. That $12,000 tip is only going to last him maybe a whole year. I'm glad he's got that, right? But that's not the important part of this sentence. The important part of the sentence is that there exists such a thing in this country called an 89-year-old pizza delivery man. And the reason it exists is because, what did they say? Derlin Newey works 30 hours a week to make some extra money because his monthly bills cost more than his Social Security covers. When we create enough wealth to ensure that that man should be able to sit at home outside on his patio, drinking some pumpkin spice latte and enjoying his twilight years, but instead we have decided to continue in a system that ensures that Jeff Bezos, however you pronounce it, can buy his third yacht and his 18th mansion. The absurdity of it all. Could we not see ourselves? That sentence, that's the opening sentence of a novel that I'll write one day, maybe next lifetime. But it's so applicable to every single issue that we face every single day. The absurdity of COVID-19 and how we've handled it in the United States. Could we not see how utterly ridiculous we have become? 200,000 lives. 200,000 lives and we're still playing games. Really? Could we not see ourselves? My hand shaking. Unfortunately, this amazing coffee, I think it's got caffeine in it, so I'm gonna be up for a while. I'm gonna probably go for a run or something so I can put myself to sleep. The Republicans would say this is great, he can still work. Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna run this off. I shouldn't be drinking it, but I normally do decaf. I really stay away from caffeine because, man, I'm already extra even in real life. So like just on GP, I'm extra. So I really shouldn't be doing caffeine this time of night. Tickle based economic sounds okay. Everybody pause for a second and go ahead and share, like, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, go to Twitch. If you're on Twitch, go to Twitter. If you're on Twitter, go to YouTube. Just cross-pollinate. Help me grow the audience and whatever we do with it, But this is what I'm fighting for. It's the same thing that a lot of my friends are fighting for. I don't particularly identify as anything anymore. I used to call myself a socialist, but I don't identify with. More precisely, I think groups don't identify with me. Particularly, like my Twitter platform is pretty big. I think I have like 180,000, something like that. I lose track. I stopped counting after 150, and so I have a pretty big platform. And so a lot of people like what I have to say. A lot of people don't like what I have to say, and I'm finding that my particular worldview doesn't really fit. You know what I mean? Like the communists reject me. And pretty much rightfully so, because I do believe that we need to preserve America, because I don't want my kids to have to go through some kind of apocalyptic civil war. And it's not categorical, but a lot of them they don't like me anymore. Same with socialists. Liberals, they don't like me because I do have a very, very robust critique of the Democratic Party. I've put it aside until we can get rid of Donald Trump. I don't like Joe Biden, but it doesn't matter if I like him. I like democracy, and I don't think Donald Trump is going to leave us with a democracy if he gets 4 more years. So a lot of liberals don't like me. 'Tis what it is. Conservatives definitely don't like me. And like whenever we run into fascists, that's why I got bruised knuckles now, because we punch fascists around here. So I don't have any group that I particularly identify with. I just believe in things. And if you're hanging out with me tonight, you probably believe in some of the same things I believe in. It's just the right thing. We make enough money in this country for everyone to have a house. We literally have more empty houses than we have homeless people on the face of this planet. We make enough money in this country where people should not have to live paycheck to paycheck. We should decommodify. Like survival should not be something that people can sell. How the hell do we sell water? What the hell is that? How the hell do we charge for people to just live? Just to live. I get it. A lot of you might be landlords in the audience. Talk to my Maoist friends about that. But we commodify every aspect of living. And because of that, most people can't get off that bottom tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Right? Most of us, most Americans, we're not really thriving. Okay? We're surviving. Now, I'm living in a pretty nice looking house, right? I framed it as best I could, right? I made sure that lamp was glowing in the back. I moved that picture over there. It wasn't over there. I framed it really good. And actually, I put those flowers over there. Hang on, let me go over here. Those flowers don't even belong there. I got to move them before my wife wakes up. So I framed this to make this look as good as it can be, right? But the reality of it is, it's a little 3-bedroom. I got 3 kids. We're not even on half an acre. We got enough grass out front that I should be ashamed that I have somebody come cut it. But at the time, I couldn't afford a lawnmower. So it was cheaper for me to have somebody come cut it because I couldn't afford a lawnmower. I'm saying all this to say is that most of us can look like we're doing good in America. And the reality of it is we're not. Some of you are. Some of you got retirement. For most of Americans, what the hell is a retirement? What? Raise your hand if you're retired. No, let's say it. Let me reverse it. Raise your hand in the audience if your retirement plan is working until you die. Up until I got a couple viral videos, that was my retirement plan. Okay, I got like last month I had like 5 viral videos, and all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap! You mean YouTubers been making this kind of money? So up to last month, my retirement plan was just working and doing this kind of stuff and lecturing, whatever, until I died. Now I can see my way into actually like building a business and stuff and letting the business, but I'm 40 years old. Got 3 kids. And the majority of these last 10 years that I've been married and raising kids, retirement was just like a figment of my imagination. And I believe that that's most of America. We can look like we living good. But the reality underneath it is that we struggling, we scratching and surviving, good times, hanging and a jiving. Let me see what's going on in this comment section. I'm stupid, man. Most of us, most of these people, look at all these hands up across the different platforms. Most people have never, retirement is a figment of our imagination. What the hell is a pension anyway? Exactly. Anyway, I'm gonna go to bed soon because this caffeine is kicking in. I'm gonna go downstairs and run. And by downstairs, I mean the step into my garage. I ain't got no downstairs. It's a step into my garage, but I still say downstairs. This is the reality of America, folks. You can frame your pictures to look amazing. Instagram, anybody could look like they popping on Instagram. You know how they satisfied us in the 50s and 60s? And when I say us, I really use that loosely because black folks weren't included. I'm black first. But we're in an era today where we have to have allyship across every ethnicity, every race, every religion, every sexuality, every gender identity, non-gender conforming. We need solidarity. So when I say a lot of inclusive language, but please understand that I know that when I'm talking about a certain time frame, it was no us. I just wanted to give you that caveat. The way they satisfied us in the 50s and the 60s, 40s and 50s, was to help everybody that wasn't black get a home. Because they understood, and it's actually a quote, a person who has to take care of a mortgage isn't going to be a part of a revolution. I heard that quote and I'm like, damn, that's very true. Because now that I got rent, I ain't got no mortgage, rent. Like I told you, man, like until I got a viral video, I was like, phew, life dealt me a lot of serious professional blows. So when I got a rent and I got kids and I got a backyard and we got a trampoline, I became far less likely to be a revolutionary who wants to tear down this country. Okay, so this is why I'm not really accepted by some of my far left friends. I still call them friends because we ultimately want the same thing. We want everyone to have what they need. But I'm so much far less revolutionary to a certain degree. When I get like 364 days out of the year, I'm trying to be in my backyard with my kids. One of who's probably walking up here in a second now. It's that one day out of the year when I realize how absurd America is that I'm ready to like lead and just, like rhetorically or literally, depending on what's going on, burn it all to the ground. But the reason 364 days of a year, I'm like, how do we fix this? Because we need to fix it. Because I need it to survive. I need the stability to be passed down to my children. I don't need a destabilized world. I don't need a civil war in this country. Because I've got children that I want to inherit something more than what I had. The reason is because I have a corner of the universe, one little piece of probably less than half an acre. It's just a lot. I mean, you know how our houses are. I don't got much. It ain't even mine. I'm renting. But it's enough for me to enjoy some peace. And so in the 40s and 50s, they understood that The capitalists understood that, and they began to ensure that we, and by we, I mean white folks in the 40s and 50s, could get homes. Do you know how they satisfy us now? I went the long way around to come all the way back to Instagram and social media. They satisfy us now by us being able to frame our pictures. If I showed you the floor, you'd be like, Negro, you need to clean up the floor right there. Your wife would be mad at you. Yeah, I put some stuff on the floor off the table because I had to frame the picture. I framed the picture and it looks like I'm even matching. My shirt is even matching the background. My caramel brown skins, contrast the wood. Like it's all framed. It's all, hell, I could show you. I'm not going to show you the floor. I'm just trying to illustrate a point. This is what it looks like. This is what I'm looking at. Anybody who's into media, do this trick where you have your light reflecting off of blinds, and what it does is it gives you more glow in your eyes. That's a pro tip. But this is what it looked like, right? This is all framed. This is nothing. But so long as we can frame our existence and present it on social media as if we're thriving, so many Americans are satisfied. Look at the difference. To satisfy us in the 40s and 50s, and when I say us, what am I talking about? I'm not talking about black folks because we were left out of it. But to stop a revolution in the 40s and 50s, they made sure that there was such a thing called the suburbs, that people could buy homes because they needed a little corner and piece of land so that they could become satiated and satisfied with the modicum of peace that they have in their corner of the universe. What are they satisfying this generation with? What are they satisfying you with now? Can you look like you popping on the ground? Can you look like you thriving on social media? Can you frame your picture the right way? And we have exchanged a place to live in our corner of the universe where we could have a little bit of green grass, not even much, just enough to put up a little grill. Our revolutionary spirit in the 50s was satiated by enough grass for us to be able to put up a grill and enjoy our families. The revolutionary spirit has been satiated today by the fact that we could post pictures on Instagram and look like we got our lives popping. I'm sorry, but I've never been a cheap date. America gonna have to give me more. The problem is that I've been working, I've been hustling, I've gotten lucky. I helped get rid of, I hope none of you are fans of Michael Bloomberg, because I'm the guy who got rid of him. I alley-ooped it to Elizabeth Warren, and Elizabeth Warren slam dunked him but anyway, that helped me get a little piece and a couple viral videos, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually doing okay now. And I had this little piece of land that's not even mine. I don't even own it, but I had grass in the backyard big enough for me to put a grill on. And it has become enough for me to have enough peace for me to want to sustain the system that we have. Here's the gag. It's not the gag. Here's the truth. Now that I've got it, I want everybody to have it. That's why I still consider myself revolutionary, because we got to change this system so that everybody can have a little corner of the universe with a little plot of grass, not have to worry about being evicted, not have to worry about whether or not they can go see a doctor about their chest pains. You know how many times, I probably shouldn't say that because I'm so big. I used to have chest pains all the time. And then finally I didn't have a doctor. So what am I supposed to do? So finally it got so bad I went to the doctor. They gave me a full workup. Cholesterol was fine. Blood pressure was fine. Everything was fine. I don't know how I was so big and everything was fine. I just had acid reflux, and they gave me Pepsid. And after 5 hours in the ER, I came out with a $7,000 bill. Now, the next time I have chest pains, or this was years and years ago, the next time I had chest pains, thankfully I was working and I had health care and I could go see a doctor, and they told me everything's fine, you just got to lose weight because you're under stress. I bring that up because how many people live that existence every single day. And now that I've gotten my little piece of the corner of the universe, I don't even own, but at least I'm here and I've got some peace and some solitude. What would I look like all of a sudden say I got mine and now I'm not worried about anybody else? But the moment you forget about me, the moment you start to worry about other people getting a baseline of survival, you have instantly become a threat to this American capitalistic system, because this system is designed to take all of the wealth that you create, that we create through consumption, we create through our labor, but just by participation, through taxes, fees, fines, levies, all we create, levied on us. We create this wealth, and our system is so designed to benefit the very rich that they look at us, and if we say we need to change it so that every person in this country has a place to live, all of a sudden we become the enemy of America. We certainly become the enemy of conservatism. We certainly become the enemy of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, and quiet as it's kept, we become an enemy of the Democratic Party too. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Has it been an hour already? Jesus Christ. Here's a good one. I like this comment from Lee. Lee be having some great comments. He said, the poor and uninsured use the ER as general care. Then they can't pay and everyone else pays more for it, pays more for it than if we insured everyone. But see, yes, you're absolutely right. But the reason they won't do the rational thing, which is to ensure that everyone is insured, is because this system has become used to profiting off of our misery. Same thing I say all the time. If you listen to my podcast, I say this all the time. Go download the podcast on iTunes. Just look up Benjamin Dixon. It's everywhere. I say it all the time on my podcast. This system has gone so far. At first, it was cool because they can make the kind of profits they wanted off of everyone owning a home. But then those profits kind of flatlined and they plateaued, and they needed a new way to generate even more profits because capitalism is never satisfied. So what do? They begin to capitalize on debt, expanding the debt market somewhere around the the entire period between the 50s and the 80s. We start transitioning to a debt economy. In the 80s, Ronald Reagan signed out of or got rid of our ability to write off our debt as a tax deduction, right? And so it really just created this paradigm where now there was an entire industry of trillions of dollars being generated off of our debt. And so now that wasn't enough. Where do we go to after that? We went into the overdraft industry. If I could tell you about the overdraft industry, $1 billion industry per bank. Every bank makes billions of dollars a year off of your overdraft because it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for them to make their profit off of your mortgages in the 40s and the 50s. They had to start making profits off of other types of debt. And that wasn't enough. So now they just have to make profit off of your misery. We are in the stage where they make profit off of your misery. The check cashing store. Listen, this is, if nothing else, we're going to be honest with each other here. Raise your hand if you've had to go to the check cashing store because your bank was in the overdraft. I'm going to raise both of my hands. I had to do that as an adult. I had to do that as a married man. It took me years to be able to say that publicly because there's so much stigma and shame attached to not being, popping and rich, right? So raise your hand in the audience if you've had to go and have the embarrassment as well as the exploitation of going to a check cashing store. Hands are up on YouTube. Hands are up on Twitch. Hang on, let me get that hands. I got two hands up on Twitch. Another hand up on Twitch. I got a yes and an amen. Hands raised on YouTube. Been there for years. And there are people, and again, I want to say this before I go any further. I'm not complaining about my life. through a combination of I'm about to say some stuff that is going to sound like it contradicts everything that I've been saying, right? But I'm going to say it because I want to show you how ridiculous it is. It was a combination of working 3 jobs, putting my family at risk financially, being a tremendous risk taker, taking risks that I think my father-in-law probably kind of cringed at. But he gave his daughter and me space to take those risks. Working obscene amount of hours. Being unbelievably, I'm sorry I didn't do it, but just unbelievably talented at this particular thing that I do. And it took unimaginable luck just for me to be able to thrive. Just for me to be able to survive and thrive. I'm going somewhere with this. It should not require an act of God for people in this country to thrive when we all create this amount of wealth. And I say that because I'm not complaining. I'm looking at my life and saying, damn, I've been unbelievably lucky. So lucky. I've been so lucky that there's got, like, for me personally, like, that's just proof to me that God has to exist, because there's no way that, like, come on, like, what are the odds? What are the odds that the exact video, I know my patrons are so tired of hearing me say this because I say it all the damn time, but you're going to have to hear it. What are the odds of that Michael Bloomberg video falling into my hands when it was so easily searchable and anybody could have found it, but it was exactly what I need to provide income for me to survive and take care of my family at the last minute. Like, we were the last quarter. We were getting ready to move in with her parents. Yeah, I slipped in and we lived with her parents before. So back in with her parents. We were done. It was a wrap. I was in my last bit of money. Didn't know how I was going to pay a rent. And then the astronomical odds of the perfect video falling into the perfect person's hands who had the ability to exploit the video as well as to provide the most robust commentary about that video, coming at the last second to provide for me exactly what I needed to take care of my family. Astronomical. We should not have to get that lucky. You should not have to get as lucky as I got to survive. It's like waiting for everyone to get struck by lightning in order to survive in this country and to thrive in this country. It's absolutely obscene, absurd, pathetic that we have that kind of system where you have to work unbelievably hard, take unreasonable risks. That's why my wife and I talk about whenever we have hard times, she always talk about, we just joke about it. She says she's always going to get half. I'm like, she would never even have to worry about getting half if we ever divorced, because she literally earned all of it, right? I know if we ever go before the judge, they're going to pull this video and say, you said it yourself, Mr. Dixon. I'm like, yeah, I said it, because she deserves all of it, because who else would have taken these risks with me? I mean, I can list them all. They would never have taken these risks with me. So of course, but we shouldn't have to get unbelievably lucky, work obscenely hard, and take unreasonable risk just to thrive in a system where we create trillions of dollars of wealth over and over again, year in, year out, just like that. The main point I was going to say about all this is that, believe it or not, I didn't lose my spot. I'm not complaining. What I am saying is that we have to do better, because as little as I have, that I have framed perfectly to look like we're doing cool. As little as I have, there are people who would give their left arm and leg to have what I have. So I'm not complaining. What I'm doing is saying what it took a miracle for me to get should not take a miracle for everyone else to have, because it's a baseline. It is a baseline. the baseline of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We as a society have generated enough wealth so that every person in this country, no, every person on the face of the planet can have those basic needs met. But when you live in a system that has commodified survival, they have made money off of survival. They charge you for water. They charge you for water. And if you can't pay your rent, they will let you be homeless. When you live in a system that has commodified your misery, because it wasn't enough for them to make money off of a mortgage. It wasn't enough for them to make money off your debt. They had to make money off of your overdrafts. Tomorrow I'll tell you about these overdraft fees, right? This whole industry. I literally had a banker at Bank of America, we call out names here, Bank of America. I had a banker at Bank of America tell me that the reason they do their overdraft fees the way they used to do them before the class action lawsuit, which was, y'all remember this? I can make it really plain. I don't even have to wait till tomorrow. Y'all remember how Bank of America used to take your biggest purchases, and no matter when you made that purchase, they would rearrange your purchases and put that biggest, they put your rent first or your car note first. And then you timed it in your mind and said, well, if I time it right, by Monday, the money will be in there and everything will be covered. Oh, but no, Bank of America took your payment on Monday and pushed that thing to Friday, the Friday before. And so that $2 coffee you bought at Starbucks, instead of paying $2 for it, you paid $38 because they hit you with a $36 overdraft fee. Y'all remember they did that class action lawsuit? They probably still do that. I don't deal with the overdraft as much this year as I did last year. I had a banker years ago tell me at Bank of America that the reason they do that, I swear on everything that is good this happened. She said, we've got to make money off of you somehow. She said, we've got to make money off of you somehow. She didn't say it to be rude. She didn't say it to be mean. She just said it as kind of like an epiphany for herself. Because I sat there, I wasn't going to leave that bank until she explained to me why she rearranged my purchases such that I ended up with in the overdraft $200. Every single time I got paid, I ended up in the overdraft $200. It's because they rearranged your purchases to ensure that your big purchases came out first, so that every little purchase that you made over the weekend, that $5 McDonald's that you bought was now $41. Because they had to make money off of you somehow. And so now we live in a system that has commodified your misery. It wasn't enough to commodify your survival. They've commodified your misery. And but we make enough wealth for us, and they would still be rich. Like everyone can have a house. Everyone can have a place to stay. And billionaires would still be billionaires. The economy will still thrive. In fact, it would thrive even more. It is actually a better economic model. It's actually a better form of capitalism, but we can't even call it capitalism because they're like, oh, you're a socialist communist. Whatever. If you give people their basic needs, everything that they make on top of that, they will spend. The economy will thrive and boom, but that's a whole nother conversation. Let's see what y'all are talking about. Let's get ready to get out of here. It's already been an hour. They will profit, maximize our extermination. I don't know why I just read that in the voice of a dialect. Exterminate. I was just clicking off this until you mentioned Abraham Maslow, and I think this is important and the goal that all of us should be striving for, self-actualization. This is where we want to go. My friend, thank you for not clicking off. I'm glad you stayed here, not because I need the viewers, but because of that statement. Today's podcast, particularly in the patrons episode, I had a chance to talk about the self-actualization. Where we really want to go in society. This is the last thing I'm gonna talk about, and then I'm gonna go to bed, maybe. We have a society that has commodified your misery. Bank overdraft fees, check cashing store, evictions, just scratching and surviving. that society generates trillions of dollars of wealth, more than enough to make sure that we don't have to commodify survival or misery. Can you imagine where the name of the show again? What did I name this? Holy hell. The world we could have. The world we could have is a society that frees everyone up. Frees everyone up from having to just scratch and survive, paycheck to paycheck, 89 years old, delivering pizza. We could have a society that makes sure that everyone's basic needs are met. Your physiological needs, your, warmth in the winter, AC in the summer. You need that, especially if you live in the South. Safety and security, right? Food, clothing. The most fundamental basic needs, we create enough wealth to ensure that every person on the face of this planet has that. What does that do then? That allows you to move up from just scratching and surviving to moving towards the top of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is self-actualization. But you know what happens when you self-actualize and you actually deal with your sentience and your sapience and your consciousness and your thinking, and you have time to think, and you're not spending the entirety of your life just trying to survive. Once survival is met and you actually have time to breathe and think, the problem is that your freedom of thought becomes a threat to a system that is designed to profit off of your misery. And so the reason they won't bail us out of this pandemic, the reason they won't provide us with $2,000 a month to make sure that everyone can stay home safely, pay their rent, and consume, the reason they won't do that is because there's a level of liberty and freedom that comes with having your basic needs met. Because when your basic needs are met, your mind automatically goes to the next challenge. Your challenge right now, the challenge for so many people, is just their mind is constantly fixated on how do I make that next month's rent? Or how do I pay the mortgage? Or how do I pay the mortgage for me and take care of my mother? How do I pay the mortgage for me and all the people I'm responsible for? This is not just a problem of people living paycheck to paycheck who are relatively poor. This is also a problem of people who actually thought that they were rich, but they have more in common with people in poverty. In that if you ever stop working, if you ever stop giving your labor, the mansion that you live in now will be gone. This is applicable to lawyers and doctors. While you have a prestigious place in society, the reality is if you stop giving your labor, unless you make your money off of capital gains, unless you make your money completely off of the stock market and your investments, then you're making your money off of labor. And if you're making your money off of labor, you have more in common with that 89-year-old man than you do billionaires. All right. Before I even finish what we're talking about, I just got to establish that again. If you make your living off of your labor, you have more in common with that 89-year-old man who's delivering pizzas than you do Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. Because the moment you stop working, it's all gone. All right. So anyway, the point is this, is that we live in a society that has commodified our misery, and we certainly could live in a society that could commodify our greatness. Simply put, we certainly could live in a society. We could have a world. The world that we could have would be one that instead of profiting off of our pain, it could profit off of our prosperity, our individual greatness. What the scripture says, I would above all things that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. That's not talking about just Jesus religion stuff. That's talking about your prosperity as a human being, not in terms of your bottom line and how much money that you got in the bank. No, your ability to thrive in your mind and to self-actualize and understand the reason that you are here, your purpose in society, the role that you play, what you can contribute. But what happens is there is a process that you go through between where you were, scratching and surviving, and where you're going in terms of self-actualization. And in between those 2 points, you turn and you look at the system and you ask yourself, why has it been this way? And the reason, I didn't forget the point, the reason they won't give us any stimulus money to actually survive this pandemic is because it would instantly free up 330 million minds. It would free us from all of the bondage of scratching and surviving, running around this country like chickens without a head, running around this country doing everything that we can, delivering pizzas at 89 years old. It would free us up from that. And then what happens? We look at the system and say, why hasn't it been like this all this time? And then you become a threat to the entirety of this system. And the powers that be, the rulers of the darkness of this world, the principalities, the wickedness in high places, the billionaires, the millionaires, the politicians who know the danger of a mind that has been set free from survival. They can never afford to let that many people break free from the bondage of our misery. And so to that end, I'm going to call it a night. This coffee must not have any caffeine because I'm tired now. Thank y'all for hanging out with me, man. I appreciate y'all letting me just do this and talk. 640 people who are still here. 640 people, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, and then cross-pollinate. If you're on Twitter, go to Twitch, twitch.tv/Benjamin P. Dixon. If you're on Twitch, go to Facebook and follow me on Facebook. I know most people don't like Facebook, so then go to YouTube and follow me on YouTube. Or you can go to Twitter and follow me at Twitter at Benjamin P. Dixon. And I just want to do this on a regular basis because, like, if you listen to the podcast, I'm more of the end is coming. On this, I'm more like hopeful and idealistic. And there's a need for both of them. So if you need to hear some real clear clarity on the seriousness of our condition right now, go to iTunes and download the podcast. 30 minutes every day. It's free. It's an hour for patrons. And you can hear the clarity of our moment and how serious of a threat I believe Donald Trump is, and how serious of a threat I believe a system that has commodified our misery is. And that transcends Donald Trump. And then meet me here tomorrow night, and when the sun is out again, we'll do it. We'll go back on the backyard, and we'll do it in the backyard. I'm thinking about doing it while I barbecue next week. I think I'm going to throw some stuff on the grill. I'm sorry if you're a vegan, no harm, no foul. I will leave it to the people in the future to condemn me fully. I accept the condemnation of the people who watch this in the future and say, how could he put flesh on a grill? Well, I'll be dead. Y'all condemn me then. But next week, I got on the calendar, it says, on the forecast says next week is going to be sunny. So while it's still warm out, I'm going to throw some meat on the grill, and you'll just see the smoke. I won't let you see the flesh on the grill, but we're going to go out in the backyard and do this more and just kind of hang out. I appreciate y'all. Let's get these numbers up. Let's spread the word. Let's get more people. Let's get 1,000 people in here next time. And even if we don't, I really enjoy the 640 people who stayed to the end. Y'all rock. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.